Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends. That's the greatest compliment we can receive. If you've been in an accident, we'll get you back in your vehicle as quickly as possible. Our technicians care about you and your family and repair your vehicle to factory standards. We handle your claim from start to finish and provide a free loaner car. Stop by for a free estimate. Eustace Body Shop, just south of 88th and Highway 2.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Show me a team that fields a strong lineup season after season, and you'll dominate. That's the way it's been at Platte Valley Equipment for decades. Whatever your task, their John Deere lineup of equipment handles it with ease. From riding mowers, compact tractor packages, to farm equipment, they can't be beat. That goes for their low monthly payments, too. Visit PlatteValleyEquipment.com, proud sponsor of the 2024 NSAA Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF. I thought I was your best friend forever. BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Acres is bringing you the nation's largest indoor display of John Deere equipment and technology. Acres 2024 Ag and Turf Expo showcases everything from tillage and planting to application and harvest. We'll also offer the latest industry insights from ag professionals across the state. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center March 6th and 7th or Fauner Park March 21st and 22nd. Go to acres.com/expo24 for a complete schedule of speakers and activities.
This is On the Block with Strick and Austin. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
Middle school basketball coaching legend and Duke basketball shooting coach in his mind, Austin Orman. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. This is On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Good afternoon from the 93.7 The Ticket Studios here in Lincoln. I am Austin Norman, not joined by the Husker Hall of Famer Eric Strickland. He should be back, if not next week, the end of next week. It will be in 2 weeks, back in time for March Madness. That's right. We are counting down the days to Selection Sunday for Nebraska men's basketball and Nebraska women's basketball. Husker men's hoops on the road tonight at Ohio State. That'll be a big jumping off point for us here in the next hour and change before we send you back out to the care of Nick Sainert. I believe Jay Foreman on his way over there for Class B state tournament action. Over in Class D1 today, you heard Pender take down Bancroft Rosalie. And then the game that just got done, a 53-40 win for St. Mary's over McCool Junction. Later today, again, that 1:30 tip-off will be Omaha Skutt, top-seeded in Class B, only lost one time all year. They will take on South Sioux City. And then game 2 of the Class B slate will be Gretna East against Waverly. That'll round it out for our high school basketball coverage today because why? We've got the Omaha Supernova. So the conclusion of that Gretna East and Waverly game will send you out to Atlanta. We got a rematch of the opening game of the season between your Omaha Supernovas and the Atlanta Vibe. That'll be DP, Coach Renee Saunders, and Rico on that call. But for the next hour and change, you got me, Austin Norman. This is what we're calling On the Block, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. If you're just now getting out of the office on your way to go get some lunch, make sure you stop by 29th and Pine Lake. That's where Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul is located. Let Charles fix you a plate of the best soul food that you can get here in Lincoln. Couple topics to get to here over the next hour or so. Obviously, Husker hoops heavy on the mind They are on the road in Columbus tonight, taking on Ohio State. The NFL Players Association released its annual report cards earlier this week. Drop your NFL team in the text line in the comments here on stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Text line is 402-464-5685. Let me know who your team is. Let me know if you want to know their grade because you're excited about it. Let me know if you want to know their grade because you are scared to know what it is. You want to see just how bad your team rates in some of these categories. We'll get to that throughout the show. But let's take a look at Husker Hoops on the road at Ohio State tonight. You look at that game. It will be a 5:30 Central Time tip-off. Won't be having a post-game show, as far as I know, because of the Supernovas. So this will be your Husker Hoops chatter. 5:30 tip-off, Nebraska at 20-8, Ohio State at 16-12. These two teams have already matched up once this year. It was in Lincoln, an 83-69 win for Nebraska. Nebraska won both halves. They went into the halftime break up 8 at 43-35. Also won the second half 40-34. Not to say the game wasn't ever close, but I think Nebraska pretty well controlled that game. The best player in that game for Nebraska had the best game he's had all year. That was the Rink Master piece, as I called it on Twitter after the game. Rink Master, the 6'10 big man, went for 34 points in that one. He was 7 of 9 on twos, but more importantly, what stands out was he was 6 of 8 from beyond the three-point line in that game, capitalized by his step back on the right wing. He shot fakes Jamison Battle up into the air, steps back to his left, puts it up. And I'll never forget Rink Mass saying, yeah, as soon as it left my hand, I knew it was a bad shot. I wasn't sure if it was going in or not, but it did. Again, just part of 34 points for Rink Mass, who also, of note, had a double-double that game. Added 10 rebounds, 9 defensive, and 1 offensive to go along with 4 assists and 2 blocked shots. So by far the best game Rink Mast has had at Nebraska. That was the second game of a win streak for the Huskers after they survived Northwestern earlier that week. So Nebraska has taken down Ohio State. We know the Huskers' road struggles in conference play. The team they've beaten on the road, Indiana, right, who finds themselves scuffling, but they did take down Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin in a massive tailspin right now. We'll definitely have to talk more about the Badgers at some point here, what they could be in for come Selection Sunday. They're pretty safely in the field. I don't know what it would take for them to miss it at this point, but Wisconsin, I think, they were in the top 16, one of those last 2 teams in the committee's top 16 seed reveals a couple weeks ago. Wisconsin's going to be lucky to be a 5, probably playing their way into the 6 line right now, which is kind of crazy to think about. Michigan State up at probably a 7, according to most bracketologists. You also look at Nebraska, Northwestern, kind of in that 9-10 range. But Nebraska has a great opportunity to try to jump up to a 9 line, if that's a thing that you as a fan want. Because Ohio State, we've talked a lot about their struggles this year, right? We've talked about Chris Holtmann being fired as head coach of the Buckeyes not too long ago. Ohio State right now sits in 13th place in the conference, second to last. They're 3 games up on that team down south. That's Michigan, of course, up north, right? That team up north would be Michigan. That team down south would be Ohio. Sorry, directionally challenged. Ohio State up 3 games on Michigan in the conference standings. Half game back of Rutgers and a half game back of Maryland as well. The Buckeyes are 11-4 at home, though. So of their 16 wins, 11 of them have come at Value City Arena in Columbus. Not looking good for Ohio State as it tries to avoid playing on Wednesday and get to even that 10 spot to play on Thursday for their first game. But this is a great chance for Nebraska because as bad as Ohio State's conference record is, and as far as that program seems like it's fallen to some degree, it still qualifies as a quad 1 win for Nebraska. And that would be absolutely huge. You look at Nebraska's quad 1 record right now. The Huskers, as of the last time they played, had a 4-6 record in quad 1 games. That's just a half game back of Northwestern, who sits with a 4-5 record in quad 1 games. Michigan State, I believe, is 3-7 in quad 1 games. So if Nebraska is able to pick up a quad 1 win against Ohio State, and I think Nick and I talked about this the end of last week, the start of this week, the comments from Charles McClelland, who's the chair of the NCAA selection committee, says they do classify these quad 1 games as quad 1A and quad 1B. So Ohio State down in the 59 to 65 range or so would definitely qualify as a quad 1B win, but it's a road conference win against a team that the metrics like more than maybe the numbers suggest. So this is really Nebraska's last chance for, what would be a good enough win on the old team sheet as the committee looks at it. The line is Ohio State by 3.5. It continues to creep towards the Buckeyes. When I saw that this morning, I was a little surprised. I honestly was surprised. I know Ohio State's been playing better. I know they're at home. And I know right now the Indiana game is the outlier for Nebraska men's basketball, the one road win they have in conference play. But for Ohio State to be favored by, at least a possession, if not a couple possessions, still seemed weird to me. They're 4 games back of Nebraska in overall record. I think 4.5 games back would be how that math works out. And it's just straightforward because Nebraska is, 4 games back in Nebraska overall and in conference record. But for them to be that big of favorites on the road or at home with Nebraska on the road, interim coach for Ohio State, I'm a little confused as to why potentially the Buckeyes are favored tonight. So I'm kind of raising my eyebrow. What does Vegas know that we don't? All that to say, I don't think tonight was necessarily going to be a cakewalk for Nebraska. I kept talking myself into, hey, this game might not be as tricky as like Rutgers. Even though that game's at home on senior night, they're playing much better since Jeremiah Williams got eligible, and a different Michigan team. Maybe the Wolverines are in full-on quit mode. I will see by the time Nebraska gets to Ann Arbor. That'll be on Sunday the 10th. But Michigan will be a different team. Doug McDaniel will be in the lineup for the Wolverines, barring injury or further suspension, right? When Michigan came down here to Lincoln, Nebraska had a 30-point lead on him, ended up winning that game by 20. Doug McDaniel didn't play. Remember, he has the road game only suspension, reportedly due to academic issues, but he'll play when these two teams match up for their senior day there in Ann Arbor. So I think that's tricky just because it's a different element. I think Doug McDaniel ties a lot of what Michigan wants to do together, especially with the rest of its guards. But as you look at this Ohio State matchup tonight, who played well for the Buckeyes against Nebraska the first time? The first guy that stands out to me was Bruce Thornton. He took 9 shots, tied for the most on the team with Roddy Gale Jr. Bruce Thornton, 5 of 9 overall. He went 2 of 4 from 3-point range. On his way to 16 points. Also had 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. Bruce Thornton's a pretty good-sized guard, right? For the most part, he was matched up with Bryce Williams and with Jamarcus Lawrence. Wouldn't shock me to see Ohio State try to get him switched onto Keisei Tominaga quite a bit. And Bruce Thornton at 6'2", 215 pounds. He likes to get downhill, only shooting 31% from 3 on the year, but 85% from the free throw line. Right. So if Nebraska can bait him into jump shots, right, not necessarily, in rhythm swing, catch and shoot ones, but do a good job moving their feet, play some drop coverage to some degree, maybe blitz him a time or two, hedge that screen pretty hard. He's a guy you definitely want to mix up the matchups against, because even as a sophomore, he's a pretty good decision maker. He's averaged 3 assists to only like 1 turnover, a tick over a turnover per game. He's a good decision maker with the ball in his hands. He's got the frame, again, at 6'2", 215, to really get rolling if he's able to get downhill. So if you're in Nebraska, you make him shoot jump shots, right? Keisei Tominaga, maybe that's a guy you don't want to let get free for a jump shot. But I think Bruce Thornton's a guy that you want to play close enough so he doesn't get ahead of steam going downhill to attack the basket, but far enough off that you can still, contest a jump shot, but make him take it from range. That's not necessarily his game or what at all he wants to do. Other guys that played well for Ohio State, you look at the line for Bowen Hardman off the bench, 11 points, but that's all he did. He was 3 of 7 from 3-point range, only made his other 2-point attempt as well. Zed Key was not the factor he has been in years past. That's one that kind of stood out to me. Zed Key is a guy that's carved Nebraska up at times on the interior, kind of 6'8", interior 3 or maybe a 4-man for a lot of what Ohio State wants to do. He was only 2 of 5 from the floor on his way to 7 points, did have 6 rebounds. So an okay night, but definitely not, the best game that Zed Key has played against Nebraska in his career. A guy that Nebraska looked at out of the transfer portal that I initially would have liked them getting was Jamison Battle. He transfers from Minnesota to Ohio State. He has 11 points on 8 shots. He goes 3 of 4 from long range, 7 rebounds. But I feel like Jamison Battle didn't have a huge impact game. I mean, 11 and 7, that's a solid night out. But he also had 3 of Ohio State's 8 turnovers. And Jamison Battle is still a guy I think has the ability to take over a game for Ohio State. We haven't really seen it that much this year like we have from him at years past at Minnesota. So I'm not exactly sure what the reason is for that, especially with, John Diebler coming in, being the interim head coach with the firing of Chris Holtmann. I feel like Jamison Battle, a guy who's been through the rigors of the Big Ten before, even though it's his first year in Columbus, that's a guy that I'm a little surprised Ohio State hasn't necessarily gone to anymore. Again, not that he's been bad by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, if you just take a look at and what he's averaging this year, he's their second leading scorer, about 2 points behind Thornton. He's their second leading rebounder with 5 points per game, or 5 rebounds per game to go along with those 14 points. But I feel like we haven't heard as much from Jamison Battle, right? Maybe because Ohio State's not like as bad as Minnesota has been in years past, that he's just another, he's a guy at Ohio State. Jamison Battle, I think, could have a G League or Europe future. I don't know if he's quite athletic enough, not even quite strong enough maybe to consistently hold up on defense in the NBA. He's got a pretty nice offensive game to him, though, and that's where I thought Nebraska, looking at Jamison Battle, going to get a scoring wing would have been a great compliment to this team. Now, I like what Bryce Williams has added to Nebraska. You've heard Strick and I on this very show go back and forth on Bryce Williams, his impact, how sometimes it comes and goes, and it seemed like he's always, playing the hardest. Bryce Williams is just so smooth, and I think sometimes his contributions go beyond the box score. But if it was down to Bryce Williams and Jamison Battle before the year, not knowing, as much about those guys then as we do now, Jamison Battle's Big Ten experience, really would have stood out to me. They're comparable shooters from 3. Jamison Battle, a fantastic free throw shooter this year, right up there at 94%, 82% for his career. That's a guy I thought really could have plugged some holes for Nebraska and brought in a nice dynamic to this team. But obviously not complaining here, not wanting to, trade for him at this point, given how things have worked out for Nebraska men's basketball. On that front, as of today, as of right now, when I'm talking to you, Nebraska men's basketball sits in, mini drum roll please, 4th place in the Big Ten. Obviously, you well-informed and smart listeners of this show know that 4th place in the Big Ten means a double bye in the conference tournaments. Purdue up there at 14-3, Illinois in second at 12-5. Northwestern continues to find ways to win. They sit at 11-6. They beat Maryland last night. And then it's Nebraska at 10-7. Wisconsin also holds a 10-7 record, but Nebraska ahead of them overall in the standings right now. Huskers at 20-8 overall. That's 2 games better overall than Wisconsin, down at 18-10. Couple teams not far back, though. Michigan State just a game back of the Huskers and the Badgers at 9-8. You see Iowa a half game back. The Hawkeyes are at 9-9. Minnesota still in the running, outside shot of that conversation at 8-9. So again, the conversation we've had that we will continue to have is that over these last 3 games, it doesn't really truly matter that much what other teams do as long as Nebraska takes care of business. Tonight, a big game for the Huskers, given that it's a quad 1 opportunity. That's meaningful. It's hugely meaningful as the Plainview Pirates bus just rolls down O Street there. It's too late to catch it on FanCam. But hey, welcome down Plainview. Tune your radio to 93.7 The Ticket. Download our free app to listen to us. But Nebraska sitting in 4th place right now controls its own destiny. Not getting Northwestern again because you've already played them twice, I think it is nice for this team. Not getting Wisconsin again because you've played them twice, I think is nice for this team. Having the tiebreaker over Michigan State is huge. It wouldn't shock me if those 2 teams end up with the same record and need the tiebreaker. Not playing Iowa, a second time is good, I think, because you're ahead of them right now. If you would tell me Nebraska has a win or, drop out of double bye game against Iowa, man, I feel like I have a hard time trusting Husker basketball in that situation, even this year, even though they've beat them, somewhat recently. So I like Nebraska having a game and a half or a half a game on Iowa right now and not necessarily having to play the Hawkeyes, with so much on the line, just because Iowa's been there in those situations before and done it. So again, 5:30 tip-off tonight for Nebraska men's basketball at Ohio State. Huskers still the hottest team in the Big Ten. They've won 4 games in a row. Northwestern's on a 3-game win streak, keeping them, again, just that game ahead of Nebraska. A couple other teams, Illinois and Purdue, have 2-game win streaks. Other than that, pretty cold. A lot of alternating wins and losses for teams outside of Michigan, who has the longest losing streak in the Big Ten right now at 5 games in a row. We'll throw it to break, continue with On the Block. We're just under an hour or so away from sending you back out to Pinnacle Bank Arena for Class B action. It'll be Omaha Skutt and South Sioux City. Pregame at 1:15, tip-off at 1:30. Come back, though. Got some NFL to chat. We've got some NBA to chat. Maybe even some Husker football. All that and more next here during On the Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Acres is bringing you the nation's largest indoor display of John Deere equipment and technology. Acres 2024 Ag and Turf Expo showcases everything from tillage and planting to application and harvest. We'll also offer the latest industry insights from ag professionals across the state. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center March 6th and 7th or Fauner Park March 21st and 22nd. Go to acres.com/expo24 for a complete schedule of speakers and activities.
You had to know that when Wingstop set out to make a crispy, juicy chicken sandwich, they wouldn't make it in just one flavor. They'd make it in all 12, like lemon pepper, mango habanero, hickory smoked barbecue, and OG hot. So why have one new favorite chicken sandwich when you can have 12? Try the new sauced and tossed Wingstop chicken sandwich today for only $5.49 at Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings. Valid for a limited time and available at participating Wingstop locations only while supplies last. Price subject to applicable taxes and fees.
Basketball fans know assists are crucial to winning. The skill of setting up others is an art. And one Nebraskan team that takes that art to a new level, it's Platte Valley Equipment. Their team always sets you up for land care success with sound advice and John Deere equipment. And Platte Valley always delivers low monthly payments. That's one assist that's a slam dunk. Visit PlatteValleyEquipment.com. Proud sponsor of the 2024 NSAA Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF. I thought I was your best friend forever. BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends. That's the greatest compliment we can receive. If you've been in an accident, we'll get you back in your vehicle as quickly as possible. Our technicians care about you and your family and repair your vehicle to factory standards. We handle your claim from start to finish and provide a free loaner car. Stop by for a free estimate. Eustace Body Shop, just south of 88th and Highway 2.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Score big this month at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln and rule the terrain on a Segway Fugelman UT10X. Now is your chance to get into a side-by-side for only $12,000 out the door. That's right, just $12,000. And this bad boy stacks up to all the other name brands. Plus, you get Segway's signature smart commanding system featuring airlock, drive settings, safety alerts, and more. Hurry in now. Elway Power Sports only has 2 left at this blowout price. Swing by their new 27th and I-80 location or shop their inventory at elwaypslincoln.com.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Fill in time before we get you back out to Pinnacle Bank Arena and the girls' state basketball tournament. Question from the text line, 2752 asks, Lincoln Christian girls score. The Crusaders take down North Bend, final score of 51-39. Pains me to say it as a Lincoln Lutheran grad. Congratulations, Lincoln Christian girls, onto the state semifinals. But it does give me the opportunity to shout out Lincoln Lutheran boys basketball. Coach Jesse Bowens going to state for the second time in school history. I know a couple teams have made it to the district final, weren't able to get over the hump, but Lincoln Lutheran takes down Tri-County in the district final. Those boys headed back to state. I'll be at that game on Wednesday. I'm going to go support the boys, support the program. So definitely excited for Coach Bowens and the program. Just the start of so many great things to come, I'm sure about that. 5782 says, I assume this was from the morning show, regarding your bonus question about Minden's population. Former Whippet, when I lived there from the mid-70s to the early 90s, the population of Minden was just over 2,700. That was a Class B school, one of, if not the smallest Class B schools at that time. But they dropped down to C1 when the NSAA reclassified a lot of schools back in the early 2000s. Yeah, my experience with Minden is one game, one run-in with the Whippets. Not a personal one, but playing pep band for the girls team, the Lincoln Lutheran girls, when they made state. Their reward for making state was to go up against basically the entire Kissinger family. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. The Kissingers were very good at basketball. Ended the Lincoln Lutheran girls run back in, what would that have been, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. I forget the exact year. But yeah, I just know that the Minden girls were very good, and the Kissinger sisters were also very good. This segment, I want to take a look at the NFL Players Association report cards. Justin in Lincoln asks to go over the Lions report card. So we'll do that first. But if you have an NFL team you want the report card for, let me know. Put it on the text line, 402-464-5685. Put it in the comment section on stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Give me your favorite team you want the report card for. We'll get to it. But Justin, his thoughts are, I feel fairly confident in the results with Campbell and Holmes in charge. Justin, the Lions report card on aggregate, pretty darn good. Overall, the Lions score 13th out of 32 teams. Okay, that's pretty good. That's top half. That would be just barely qualifying for the playoffs in such a bracket. Here's the overview, according to the NFL Players Association. The Detroit Lions ranked 13th overall in our player survey, with a notable mention of head coach Dan Campbell's high grade. The players clearly enjoy working for him, with respondents calling out his willingness to listen to their locker room. The Lions hired a new training staff this offseason, and the players noted in their responses that they could feel the improvement at the workplace and that they received significantly more individualized care this season compared to last season. The lowest grade that the Lions got was with their food and their dietitian, nutrition staff. It says the food program is another area that players noted improvement from last year, with players noting that the food tastes better and fresher. Despite the improvements, players responded that they still hope to see another jump going into next year, as food service remains the number one issue Detroit Lions players would like to see upgraded. The food in the cafeteria ends up getting a C grade, which is 19th best in the league, so just under that halfway point. The nutritionist and dietitian gets a C+, but that's a 6-spot drop all the way down to 25th. The rest of the grades, the treatment of families, the Lions get a B, good for 8th place. Locker room, B-. Training room, B. Training staff, B. Weight room, B. Those are all either 12th or 13th. Strength coaches get an A-, good for 13th in the league. Team travel accommodations get a B, that's 8th. Head coach gets an A+. There you go, Justin. Dan Campbell gets an A+. According to his players, they love him. They love playing for him. They appreciate a lot about what he does. That's the third highest head coach ranking in the league. And the ownership gets a B-, probably higher than I think Lions fans have put them in the past. Other teams that we're getting here. Okay, actually, before we move off of that, 6008 says Dan lost them games. Yeah, Probably, but what head coach doesn't lose his team's games sometimes? The dumb decisions, sometimes a C minus 6008. I assume you're a Lions fan as well. The in-game decision making, though, is just a part of the coach's grade, right? I mean, you talk about being a player's coach versus a scheme guy. We've had that conversation plenty of times here, especially during old school. Dan Campbell, beloved by his players, the whole bite and kneecaps thing. They go to bat for him. They play their guts out for him because you see Dan Campbell lay it all on the line. Right decision, wrong decision. We'll see, some of it's on the players to execute the plays as always, but you can't deny just how much ownership appreciates Dan Campbell and how much the players really, really love playing for Dan Campbell. We have, that's from a Chiefs fan, 6008. We'll take these in the order that they came in. John and Cortland, appreciate you chiming in as always, good sir. Your San Francisco 49ers rank, mini drum roll for John and Cortland, please, 6th out of 32 teams. The Lions were 13th and the Niners were 6th. Here's the overview, John. The Niners finished ranked 6th overall. The positives for the team start at the top of the organization, with the players giving high marks to club ownership and CEO Jed York, along with head coach Kyle Shanahan. Responding players also highly ranked the treatment of families and the food program. The one area that survey respondents believe needs to be prioritized going forward is the training room. The room itself is small with a limited number of treatment tables. The hot cold tubs are very small, and players say that limits their ability to comfortably use them to warm up or recover. Going up and down the report card here real quick, John. A minuses in treatment of families, food and cafeteria, and ownership. Treatment of families, 2nd overall. Food cafeteria, 3rd overall. B pluses in nutritionist, dietitian, and locker room, as well as weight room and strength coaches. They get a C in the training room, a C plus for team travel. We go next to the Chargers. Derek in a car. What does the report card look like? Yes, summer school has been great, and a new coach with Charger history. For the offseason, Derek in a car is giving them an A minus. On their report card, Los Angeles Chargers, sorry, Derek, not looking good. Overall, 30th out of 32 teams. Here's the overview. The good news is that the team is close to finishing their brand new practice facility. It's scheduled to open before next season. As of now, the team is still located in a temporary facility not built to be an NFL caliber workplace. The hope and expectation is that once the Chargers' new facility opens, it will improve their grades and rankings. There are 2 categories not directly tied to facilities that players identify as priorities. First being food, which ranks last in taste and freshness. The second issue is team travel, as the team continues the unique practice of sending equipment along with players and staff, which leaves the team sitting on the tarmac for an extended time, waiting for the plane to be loaded and unloaded. Really interesting stuff there from the Chargers. Just going up and down their report card real quick for you, Derek. I see 3 Fs out of the first 4 categories. Treatment of families, F. Food and cafeteria, F. Locker room, F. Again, some of that being upgraded at this point. Nutritionist and dietitian gets a B, as does the head coach. Again, I think this was under Brandon Staley when this was recorded. Curious to see how that'll change in the future for Jim Harbaugh. You get a D plus, the Chargers do, in the training room and the weight room, a C plus in the training staff and the strength coaches, and a D minus for team travel. The highest the Chargers rank overall in any of these are 16th for their nutritionist and their dietitian staff. Rolling along here with the NFL report cards here during On the Block. 6008, a Chiefs fan. This one really stood out to me. It was really fascinating. Obviously, there's a lot of Chiefs fans here in this area, and some of my buddies that are Chiefs fans caught on to this. The Chiefs, overall, not that great. 31st out of 32 teams. The Chargers were 30th, so Derek in a car, hang your hat on this. The Chargers, bigger offseason champs than the Chiefs, who are 31st out of 32. Long overview section here. The brightest spot on this survey, of course, head coach Andy Reid, highest rated head coach in the NFL. And then it gets into this. Other than that, the players are frustrated by their workplace offerings, especially after the team sustained success in recent years. The responses identify major issues in 2 areas: quality of care and out-of-date facilities. Okay, so the locker room is not great. You saw this, I think, bounce around Twitter a little bit. where the Chiefs were promised upgraded locker rooms. They didn't get it. All they got were bigger folding chairs to sit on in front of their lockers. And ownership's excuse was, oh, sorry, you guys were playing too long. We didn't have enough time for the renovations. That made me laugh. And then the quality of care issues the Chiefs have center around the training room. Chiefs players feel that the training room is significantly understaffed, with only 43% of the team responding that they get an adequate amount of one-on-one treatment time. The other biggest issue I think that ties those together, Clark Hunt, the lowest rated owner in the entire survey. They ranked him as the least willing to invest in team facilities among all NFL owners or ownership groups. So the Chiefs report card, A+, first overall in head coach. Other than that, not great. C+ for weight room and strength coaches, C- for food and cafeteria, a D+ in the treatment of families, a D in the training room and team travel. You get an F, the Chiefs do, for the nutritionist and dietitian, F for the locker room, F for the training staff, and F- for the ownership, of course, led by Clark Hunt. 5304, man after my own heart. My Indianapolis Colts. Where do they rank overall? Well, not much better than, say, the Chargers or the Chiefs. So on the Colts report card, overall, 22nd out of 32 teams. Overview, they ranked 22nd this year. Players rate their head coach strongly, Shane Steichen. Yep, I would agree with that from the outside. The next highest category was the locker room. But again, similar to the Chiefs, players consistently report to the need for the club to invest back into the workplace facilities and the workplace staff. The players for the Colts said the training room is understaffed, making it difficult to get the best possible treatment, not having an individualized plan. So really, that's the issue for the Colts. The highest rank that the Colts get was 11th in the locker room, 16th for training staff. Highest grade was an A- for Shane Steichen, 18th overall ranking there. Other than that, 1D for the treatment of families. You have C's for the food, the weight room, the strength coaches, and ownership. B's for pretty much the rest of them across the board. Glad to see that for the Colts. I mean, not the best report card, but also the world champs are rated worse. So I'm okay with where the Colts fall on that. Steelers and Bears we'll get to. Richie Rich, you're in next. You say go Pack go. I assume that means you want the Packers report card. Bit of a mixed grade here for the Packers overall, though I would say it's pretty solid. They get the third highest grade overall, third out of 32 teams, thanks to upgrading their facilities in the last year, including player meeting rooms and underground parking to insulate players from the Green Bay cold, right? That's the little stuff as an organization that I think is huge for players, right? They don't have to scrape, snow and ice off of their windshields. They can just go to work. They can park underground. It's warmer. It's insulated. Don't have to worry about that. Players also rank Green Bay highly with their food service and cafeteria, travel, and weight room. They do, however, call it a desire for the club to address the locker room and treatment of families. So it's spacious, but they think it needs an update. And the Packers don't offer game day childcare, which is something that the Packers players say that they would want the club to offer. So a lot of A's, a lot of B's. The only C for the treatment of families for the Packers. Stellar, actually, now as I go over it, stellar report card for the Green Bay Packers. Steelers were in next. Travis, my man, we will get down to Pittsburgh. Okay, as I pull it up here, Pittsburgh ranks overall 28th out of 32 teams. Not ideal, not where I thought, such a blue blood, highly regarded organization such as Pittsburgh would rank. Here's the overview on Pittsburgh. 28th this year. Unsurprisingly, the highest marks go to head coach Mike Tomlin, with respondents of players, of course, reporting that he creates a great workplace culture by respecting them in their time. But beyond that, in the opinion of the players, the Steelers fall short and far behind workplace standards across the NFL. Here are just some examples from the players. One of 4 teams that don't provide players' families with either a family room or daycare on game day. One of 7 teams whose players feel like their weight room is no better than where they could train off-site or in the off-season. And the players feel like they lack the necessary staffing in the training room to receive the appropriate amount of individualized care. So yeah, Mike Tomlin gets an A, 5th rated head coach. You get B's for the Steelers in strength coaches and food cafeteria. The C's come in the weight room and training staff. You get a D+ for the training room, D for team travel, F for ownership, and F- for treatment of families. We'll move on back to the NFC North from the AFC North to the Bears, the Chicago Bears. Their report card we'll get to here if I can find it. Yep, there we go in just a second. Again, decent across the board. I'm seeing some A's pop up as I scroll to it really quick here. Yeah, the Bears, 10th out of 32 teams, 38-91. How do you like 10th out of 32? I would say that's really not bad at all. Improvements for the Bears include the treatment of families. The Bears started providing daycare on game day. They add a family tent during training camp. Players feel like that's definitely been better. Bears continue to have a highly ranked facility with solid marks for their locker room, weight room, and training room. The area of improvement that was most noted for the Bears, food and nutrition, was an issue the previous year as well. Players think they want healthier food options and don't think the current offerings maximize their performance. Okay, so the A for the Bears comes in the locker room, another A in the weight room. The B's are pretty much across the board. Training room, weight staff, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and ownership. The C's are in treatment of families, but again, that's an improvement from last year. The food and cafeteria gets a C, and the nutritionist and dietary staff gets a C+. All right, Gingerbeard Man, I think you're actually Jake Sorensen's burner. Who was the only team to have all A's? I forget. LOL, fins up, baby. Yeah, Miami rated out very well. Very, very, very well in this survey. All A's across the board, even a small smattering of A+. We'll touch on the Fins just for you. I know Jake's around. We'll do it. So, yeah, Miami, a smooth, easy, crisp, buttery first overall out of 32 teams. Stephen Ross, highest graded club owner in the survey, gets strong performance in quality of facilities, comfort of travel, quality and quantity of staff across multiple categories, right? And that's really been the issue for most of these teams, is not that the staff is bad necessarily, it's that there's not enough of them. They see other teams with more staffers in the weight room, more staffers in the training room, more dietary staff, right, that can better help them plan their diet and their recovery. But that's not an issue for the Dolphins. Again, first out of 32 teams, all A's across the board. The A minuses, treatment of families, third, training staff, A-. A+ in weight room, ranking first overall. A+ for ownership, again, Stephen Ross ranking first. And then A's, everything else across the board. The absolute lowest the Dolphins ranked in the survey was 8th with their head coach, Mike McDaniel. Other than that, it's first, second, and third, basically across the board. Most of them rank first. So, hey, Miami, good job. You did it. Your players love playing for you. Your players love living there. Keep up the good work. That's a job very well done, if you ask me, by Miami. Any other final teams you want me to talk about from the NFLPA report card? Get them in here. We've got a break here during On the Block. We'll wrap up this hour of the show. Again, just under half an hour away from getting you back out to state tournament action at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Don't go anywhere. More On the Block next.
Acres is bringing you the nation's largest indoor display of John Deere equipment and technology. Acres 2024 Ag and Turf Expo showcases everything from tillage and planting to application and harvest. We'll also offer the latest industry insights from ag professionals across the state. Join us at the Sandhills Global Event Center March 6th and 7th or Fauner Park March 21st and 22nd. Go to acres.com/expo24 for a complete schedule of speakers and activities.
Score big this month at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln and rule the terrain on a Segway Fugleman UT10X. Now is your chance to get into a side-by-side for only $12,000 out the door. That's right, just $12,000. And this bad boy stacks up to all the other name brands. Plus, you get Segway's signature smart commanding system featuring airlock, drive settings, safety alerts, and more. Hurry in now. Elway Power Sports only has 2 left at this blowout price. Swing by their new 27th and I-80 location or shop their inventory at elwaypslincoln.com. The Coach's Pep Talk. Done well, it creates strong team unity, improves motivation, and attitude. So when Platte Valley Equipment says they're here to help you succeed, you'll have their 100% support to help you handle any task with their John Deere equipment that gets the job done every time. And with low monthly payments, well, that should be some serious motivation to visit PlatteValleyEquipment.com. Proud sponsor of the 2024 NSAA Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends. That's the greatest compliment we can receive. If you've been in an accident, we'll get you back in your vehicle as quickly as possible. Our technicians care about you and your family and repair your vehicle to factory standards. We handle your claim from start to finish and provide a free loaner car. Stop by for a free estimate. Eustace Body Shop, just south of 88th and Highway 2.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF. I thought I was your best friend forever. BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Back one final time here for this hour of what we're calling On the Block. Austin Norman with you, joined by Jake Bachhoven. Bach, what's up?
Oh, not too much. How are you doing?
Doing great. Rolling through the NFLPA report cards here. City Worker says, how's Dallas's grade? Okay, the Cowboys. If you had to guess, Bach, where do the Cowboys rank? Out of 32.
I can't imagine Jerry Jones gets the highest rating. But, you know, I think of them considerably. Usually you think pretty well. Maybe top 10.
Close. 12th out of 32. Okay. Here's the overview. 12th overall, there are a few areas where the team shines. The facilities grade highly. Specifically, the players give high marks to the locker room, weight room, and head coach Mike McCarthy. How about that?
Players coach, huh?
Indeed. The major issue in Dallas, according to the responses, centered around the training room. Players feel like they're understaffed in this department, and it's difficult to get the necessary prep and treatment to perform at their best. So going up and down the report card, yeah, really mixed bag for Dallas. The A's come in head coach, 9th overall, 5th overall in the weight room, 2nd overall in the locker room, A- for treatment of families. B's in food cafeteria, nutritionist, dietitian, strength coaches, and Jerry Jones gets a B, 19th rated owner overall, C in team travel, C in training room, and D+ in training staff. Bach, do we have to give the Cardinals grade since you're here now?
I'm interested, yeah. Not expecting too much out of the Bidwells, but...
Well, they're not going to be 32nd.
Yeah.
They're not going to be 30th. Chargers have that 27th out of 32.
They're moving on up in the world.
Okay, here are the notes. The club made improvements from last season, which increased their grade across multiple categories. Notable upgrades include providing daycare and small family room, and they stopped the practice of charging players for dinner. They upgraded their weight room with new equipment and replaced the hazardous floor from last season. How about that, Bach? Yes. Hazardous floor in Glendale.
Gone. Paid food gone. I mean, this is great.
The underlying issue, according to the players, is the facility itself. Ratings of the size of the locker room, training room, and weight room rank among the lowest in the league, with players comparing it to, how about this, Bach? More like an office building than a premier athletics training facility.
Well, there's plenty of office space now. Everybody's working from home. Maybe they can double up on the office space there.
Right. So the report card overall, A- for head coach, B for training staff, C's in nutritionist, dietitian, weight room, strength coaches, and team travel, D in food and cafeteria, treatment of families, and an F in ownership. There you go. There you go, Bidwell.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Any final teams you want a report on, let us know here on the text line, 402-464-5685. Again, highest graded team, the Miami Dolphins, all A's across the board. Pretty impressive. Lowest graded team, Bach, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising, but also not. I mean, the Hunts aren't the biggest money owners in the NFL, but for being, back-to-back world champs, winning it 3 times now with Patrick Mahomes, I'm not necessarily surprised the ownership would kind of skimp out and say, we're winning. It's fine. You guys deal with it. But at the same time, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid aren't going to be around forever. So why not make those investments starting now?
Yeah, you would think so. And I was surprised to see that. I mean, again, maybe you expect them to be like even 16th, 23rd, something like that. You're like, all right, well, the recent wins should move you up the board. But to be all the way at the bottom, it should be embarrassing. I mean, especially if, I understand they've had to dole out some money as far as, Patrick Mahomes and all that. But, he's got his own like chicken establishments out there. Just bring those if they're, free food from Patrick instead of the Hunts. But it is, altogether, I think reading through this is kind of surprising. I think certain high schools have like, like childcare if you need so. To hear that players have to pay for food, you think about a training table here at the University of Nebraska. There's just some things that you think would be automatic at any NFL facility because of the amount of money that goes around that aren't necessarily at this point.
Robert on the YouTube stream, thanks for chiming in. Thanks to Starter Heyman for sponsoring that. Says, how about my Lions? We started with the Lions. That was the first team we got. Justin and Lincoln asked for that. Lions rate out pretty well across the board. The problem is the food, which they say is improved, but they still want more and better food. Other than that, it's B's and A's across the board. Players love Dan Campbell. Players love their strength staff. Weight room could stand to be improved a little bit, but they still think it's pretty good. So job pretty well done overall by your Lions there, Robert. We got about 10 minutes when we get back here to what we're calling On the Block. We'll go over Husker Hoop, get Bach's thoughts on that, where the Huskers stand in the Big Ten, and more before we send it back to Nick Sainert at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Don't go anywhere. One more segment to go before we resume state basketball action here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Show me a team that fields a strong lineup season after season, and you'll dominate. That's the way it's been at Platte Valley Equipment for decades. Whatever your task, their John Deere lineup of equipment handles it with ease. From riding mowers, compact tractor packages, to farm equipment, they can't be beat. That goes for their low monthly payments, too. Visit PlatteValleyEquipment.com, proud sponsor of the 2024 NSAA Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Tournament.
Did I forget something?
No, just wanted to tell you I love you. Oh, don't forget to buckle up. Drive safe.
I will. Love you too.
Someone is counting on you to buckle up. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
High school basketball fans, take a trip over to the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame while you're in town for state hoops. Admission is free, and it's a great way to learn about some of the greatest athletes and teams to come out of the state, from recently to over 100 years ago in all sports. Learn more about names like Gale Sayers, Johnny Rogers, Bob Gibson, Tom Osborne, and more. Open Wednesday through Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. It's the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame, just north of Haymarket Park at 500 Charleston Street.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats. Dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people. Small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
In a world where quality tools make the dream work, let Sunbelt Rentals be your unseen team member. Shine bright with our top-notch equipment, dependable for any project size. Witness the difference with tool rental in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's more than just a tool, it's your companion for the perfect job. With Sunbelt Rentals, you're never alone in your project journey. Brighter tasks, better results. Sunbelt Rentals, tools that empower you.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
When it comes to joining the Nebraska Army National Guard, you've heard it all before. College, healthcare, signing bonus. But joining is so much more than that. It's setting yourself up for a new and better chapter of your life. I'm Staff Sergeant Paul White, and because of the Nebraska Army National Guard, I'm in control of my career. And when the workday ends, I get to come home to my family. Write your next chapter by joining the Nebraska Army National Guard. For more information, schedule a meeting with me, Staff Sergeant Paul White at nationalguard.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Now back to On the Block with Strick and Austin on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is On the Block for another 10 minutes or so. Scott and Sioux City on deck in the Class B state tournament. Girls this week, boys next week. Austin Norman, Jake Bachhoven with you here for just a little while longer. This is not Mary Ellen's. This is On the Block, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. If you're in town for state basketball, make sure you get down to Mary Ellen's at 29th and Pine Lake here in Lincoln for some soul food, right? Charles does a great job with it. Go say hi. Tell him that On the Block sent you. Buck, I gave my thoughts on Husker basketball. They're on the road tonight, 5:30 tip-off against the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Quad 1 game. Just barely, but Ohio State's 65th in the net right now, top 75 on the road, categorized as a Quad 1 win for the Huskers, who are 4-7 in Quad 1 right now, according to the NCAA website. Just your general thoughts on this game for the Big Red tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, they again, this is the rematch from the Rink Mass game. It's only it can be called, and I'd like to see if that was a matchup thing. You know, I think a lot of it was the 3-point shooting. Anytime he can get hot, you know, from beyond the arc, that's going to change the way that you have to guard him and have to, you know, you have to approach him. But he hasn't been doing that the last couple of games. He's not necessarily on a hot streak. And I think that's partially what's so interesting about tonight as well, is Nebraska is becoming a team and you know, maybe always has been, because we started the year with different leading scorers every other game, but it's becoming well known that, you know, they can beat you from just about anybody on the court, anybody off the bench can get hot and get going and get in the double figures and allow some of the other guys that, you know, if you're having an off night, so be it. Focus on some of the other stuff. You don't have to be the leading scorer every night. So I think that's incredibly intriguing. And then, of course, for Nebraska, and one thing I've been saying all week is kind of almost preparing the Husker fans for a loss here, because if it does happen, I just don't. I think we're past the whole mania and saying this team doesn't win on the road and all that stuff. You get one. So another one would certainly help here. And like you said, a Quad 1 would certainly help. But this is an Ohio State team that arguably, along with Nebraska, one of the hotter teams in the Big Ten, and they're at home. So it's going to be a tough one. But if the Huskers can keep it going, I think this is probably their biggest test, if in the way, I suppose, of a 7-game winning streak to close out the year. Still would have to, you know, obviously get the job done at home against Rutgers and take care of business in Ann Arbor. But I also saw, you know, a tweet national, you know, kind of the national idea is if Nebraska gets one more win, they're in, and that's kind of the similar feeling than we have tonight. So they can all but punch their way into the NCAA tournament tonight.
And I think they should be in anyways. I don't think it should take another win, but if you add another Quad 1, even if it's 1B win to the books, that's never a bad idea. Earlier in the week, Buck, I thought this game was getting simpler and simpler, right? I just feel like Ohio State is closer to done from their interim coach bounce with Diebler taking over. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. I don't know. But I saw the line start creeping more and more towards the Buckeyes. You know, 3.5-point favorites at last check, trending to 4. That kind of worries me. Like, what does Vegas know that we don't? Does it view the Indiana win as the fluke? I mean, right now, I think you have to, right? Given that that's the only road win Nebraska has in conference. It's that in Kansas State. Neutral site game against Oregon State doesn't count as a road win, obviously. So, yeah, Nebraska's, you know, still had 2 flukes more than anything. But I think this team has been playing well. I think the basketball has been better, even if it's against lower tier teams. Ohio State's probably more talented than the record show. Being at home, they've won 11 games there. Like everyone, they're not good on the road by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm talking myself into this game being more and more of a test. I still think it's Michigan. Right? I just think they're so different. I think that the way they can fill it up, the way they can get up and down and score the basketball, they'll be different with McDaniel. And it's going to be the last game of the regular season. How much will Nebraska have to play for? How much will Michigan have to play for? Just some silly things happen in those kind of games. So I think there's enough on the line for Nebraska tonight that the Huskers are going to, hopefully respond and play well on the road after a little bit of a break, right? They've had not necessarily a couple days off, but a couple days away from competition. And surprisingly, Bach, at least to me, this is a quad one game. I didn't think there'd be any way after Chris Holtmann got fired that this would be a quad one game. So the hope is that Nebraska can say, hey, thanks for playing better, Ohio State. We'll take a win from you on your home floor. Just keep hanging around that, 65 to 70 range and keep this a quad one win for us.
Yeah, I'm surprised even to see that too. I mean, obviously you see Chris Holtmann get fired in them at the bottom of the standings. You're kind of thinking, man, it must be as bad there as it is at Michigan. But you look at the standings, it does tell you a different story. I mean, Rutgers and Ohio State are at the bottom along with Michigan, but they have double the amount of wins they do. They're only a game behind or half a game behind. So I guess from there, the 11th and 10th best teams in the league, which isn't great, but 6 and 7 wins in the Big Ten. That's a respectable season. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doomed for Wednesday in the Big Ten tournament every year, and looks like that might be the case this year. But yeah, I can see it. I mean, I think every game is going to have its own its own challenges, but Ohio State, I mean, I'm just impressed with what they've been able to do. Like you said, maybe it's just a shot in the arm with Jake Diebler as the interim head coach, but having beaten Purdue, followed that with a win at Michigan State, they seem like they've got their spark back, and so I'm a little bit worried about tonight, and could see this game being a pretty good one. Ohio State still struggling. Their last win against Michigan State, they shot 3 of 17 from beyond the arc. I mean, so it's not a complete change, but with Battle and Thornton, I mean, they've got some weapons that just like any game, if
Zed Key's been good against Nebraska in the past.
Yeah, it's just like any game. If a few guys get hot and get going, then they can make it quite a game. I'm so confident in Nebraska having at least one person. That's what kind of stood out to me in the last game too. Obviously, it was a rock fight to begin with, and it was couldn't be categorized any differently on Twitter, and there's a lot of commentary on that. And then Nebraska goes out and scores close to 50. I don't remember what it was in the second half. They're as opposed to a lot of recent Nebraska teams that go on 5-minute droughts, and you're worried like, okay, well, they just don't have it tonight. It's just a matter of time till somebody on this team gets it going, and then they, gets the feeling going. So, I mean, I'm interested. I think this team, Nebraska, has so many options, but it just feels a lot more dangerous if Tominaga is going, right? If he can rattle 3 straight threes, obviously that can make a difference. After an off night, which should be expected, but he was kind of getting back toward what he was doing at the end of last season, trying to score 20 points per game. I'd really love to see him get back into it and maybe poke at the Ohio State crowd a little bit.
If I gave you rank master of the field, who's Nebraska's leading scorer tonight?
I would say the field. Again, I think a lot of it, I'd love to say that it's just a matchup thing and Ohio State can't guard him. But a lot of it's just, I think he just started feeling it from deep that day. And, that makes it more difficult. I remember they basically treated him like he was Josiah Allick at first. Like they were playing well off him. I don't expect to see that today.
No, which I think Nebraska can utilize then too. If they're going to be aggressive on ranked mass, that's a shot fake blow by. You're playing that tire that should open up some back cuts. And 2, Akpara's not good away from the rim, right? That was the matchup for a lot of it. Some Zed Key on him from time to time. Couple interesting bubble results from last night, Bach. You see Alabama come from behind at halftime to beat Ole Miss. It ends up a 15-point game because Alabama puts up 64 points in the second half. That's NBA stuff from the Crimson Tide. Ole Miss still probably ahead of Nebraska in the pecking order. They're 19-9 overall, 6-9 in the SEC. But, maybe sliding back to Nebraska territory in that 9 or 10 range instead of 8 or 9. Also in the SEC, South Carolina goes to College Station and beats Texas A&M. the preseason pick to win the SEC. Looks like they're going to miss the tournament, Bach. They're 15-13 overall. That same 6-9 in the SEC. So hopefully that's one team out of the picture for Nebraska. If you have to worry about the bubble. Creighton does Nebraska a solid and beats Seton Hall. They're kind of in that last four in territory. But the big game in the Big East as it relates to Nebraska, St. John's Butler. Butler never really seriously threatens St. John's as the Johnnies beat the Bulldogs. Butler, again, according to most people, completely off the bubble, completely out of the picture. St. John's moves up from next four out probably to last four out. But you knock one or two teams off the bubble for Nebraska and knock another team down a seed line. Huge night across the country for Nebraska hoops last night.
Yeah, and it's fun to follow that stuff again. Now, and it's fun in Nebraska's position again, especially if they can
beat Providence.
Oh, there you go. Especially if Nebraska gets the win, though, to start seeing seeding and thinking about matchups that you can have as an 8 seed or a 7 seed. I mean, if they can make a bit of a run here. And so it's kind of fun to compare not just who's going to make it, who's not, but who's kind of in that same class of Nebraska. Because I think, I mean, for the most part, after the last couple wins, they've kind of been taken out of that last four in category. Have you seen them on that? Too many
Not
metrics
recently.
lately? Yeah. I guess, again, who knows what can happen? I mean, you could drop 2 out of 3 here at the end and maybe be back in that conversation. But even going 2-1 down the stretch, I don't think you'd see him on there. So, again, it just feels so comfortable for Nebraska to be in. It's about the seeding, where they will be. Some people want to avoid. There's really no avoiding a good team if you're going to be in that 7-10 range. You're going to play the 1 or 2 seed likely in the next round, whether it's the 1 or 2. College basketball. I don't feel like there's that big of a difference. Maybe from your third best team in the nation and your 6th best team. So I think you're due for a tough battle in the second game. But who cares about the second game, right? This is Nebraska basketball after all. We're talking about that first one, that first matchup they'll get. It would be wonderful to move up at least to the 7 and didn't feel like you have a chance to be favored. But again, for Nebraska, we can't just get one road victory and say, well, it's done. You don't have to worry about it now. They have to go out there and continue to improve that. In what a boost of confidence it would be to win away from Pinnacle Bank Arena. Not just once, but the final 2 times this season. And then you pretty much can wipe that out as a factor and just say, yes, this is one of the hottest teams in the country right now, regardless of whether they're playing at Pinnacle Bank Arena or in any gym across the country.
So this is just one bracketology, right? I got ESPN's pulled up because Lunardi's typically been lower on Nebraska than other people. He's got the Huskers moving up to a 9 seed. He's got Northwestern moving up to a 9 seed. Northwestern would draw UConn in the second round. Nebraska would draw Houston down south. Michigan State down to a 9 seed. So all those kind of fringy Big Ten teams all there on the same line. Looking at Joe Lunardi's last 4 byes, Texas, Wake Forest, Nevada, New Mexico. On our way to 6 bid Mountain West. Hallelujah, bring it on. Last 4 in, Seton Hall, Virginia, Providence, Gonzaga. Okay, first 4 out, A&M, we mentioned them losing last night. Villanova, who might be ranked in the preseason and missed the tournament 2 straight years. Utah and Colorado out of the Pac-12. And then the next 4 out, Butler, Ole Miss, who's in a lot of other projections, is out according to Lunardi. Kansas State, who Nebraska beat, and Iowa sneakily in that next 4 out. If the Hawkeyes get hot, might they be a bid stealer?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could see it. They'd have to make a run at the Big Ten tournament, but those are fun. That's the best part of the season is a team like that does make a run. I mean, Iowa did it a couple of years ago with Keegan Murray, and it certainly helped their standing. They went and lost in the first round of the tournament, just like everybody in the Big Ten has been doing lately. But I could see it. They've got some fire. I mean, they've been good as of late. They're not surprising when you see them beat a top tier Big Ten team at this point. So yeah, that'll be exciting. And then, like you said, I mean, to have traditional brands like Gonzaga and Virginia, fighting for their lives, going into conference tournament will be a blast as well.
So I know we're also on Omaha watch for Husker hoops as well. If they're able to get a game there right now, the Omaha teams, according to ESPN, are St. Mary's in South Florida in the 6-11 game in the East region, as well as Iowa State and Oakland in the 3-14 out East. The West region is the other one with games in Omaha. Utah State, Texas in the 7-10. Kansas, Eastern Washington in the 2-15. Nebraska would go to Memphis right now. Houston, South Dakota State in the 1-16, matched up with Nebraska. Mississippi State. Feel like that's a team Husker basketball fans are relatively familiar with from past, NIT
They came to
preseason
Lincoln
exhibition runs.
Yeah, they came to Lincoln last year just for that tournament.
That's
Lost
right.
to Drake.
Yeah.
Actually, they were
That's right.
they were ranked,
That's
and Drake
right.
beat them. So
that's right. The other teams then in Memphis are Dayton playing the winner of Seton Hall and Virginia, who would have to play in Dayton and then go to Memphis as part of the first four, and then Alabama High Point in the 3-14. That'll do it from us here in the studio. We'll throw it to break. On the other side, Nick Sainer, call of Omaha Skutt and South Sioux City in girls Class B state tournament action. Don't go anywhere. High school state basketball tournament coverage continues right here next on 93.7 The Ticket.
Eustace Body Shop, where our customers send their friends. That's the greatest compliment we can receive. If you've been in an accident, we'll get you back in your vehicle as quickly as possible. Our technicians care about you and your family and repair your vehicle to factory standards. We handle your